It's 2:06 on Talk Radio 790 KABC. It's the John Phillips Show. It's Randy Wang here, broadcasting live from the Morongo Casino Resort and Spa Living Room Studio as we continue to cover the breaking news. In this, the last minute, the CHP did it. This guy who we've been following, it's been a chase that's been going on since 11:30 in Los Angeles. LAPD chasing him all around the San Fernando Valley. A man who has carjacked 3 different vehicles, 2 of them at gas stations. He was just last in a cargo van, was flying up the 101 freeway, got off the 101 at Moore Park, and a CHP vehicle crashed head onto him on purpose. The other cop cars pinned him in. They got him out. They got him on the ground. They have arrested this jackass so you can safely go back to the gas station and fill up your car. And it turns out one of the dumbest ideas possible, already stealing a car is a dumb idea. It's entertaining for people watching it, but it's a terribly stupid idea. But on top of the terribly stupid ideas of stealing people's cars, as it turns out, when you steal cars at gas stations, they don't have any gas in them. And you're not going to get very far, which is why you have to steal yet another car. This chase was so huge that every single local channel cut into their programming. I think John and Ken cut into their programming as well. ABC 7, no General Hospital, they're covering this chase. Channel 9, no Judge Mathis, they're covering this chase. Channel 11, no game show, Marla is covering this chase live from Fox 11. So everyone had to experience this together. I don't typically try to address these on the air, but this one looks so wild and so dangerous with people getting carjacked at gas stations. Could not help myself. And it's especially interesting that they cut out of all the regular programming when they're not even in a news block because this was that wild. But it's over now. Everything's going to be okay. Soap fans will still get 45 minutes of General Hospital. Probably. I mean, what are they going to do? Vamp for the next 45 minutes? So we'll see what happens there. But that one was wild. That one was crazy. And I feel very proud. Usually it's Tim Conway who texts me about these things. I let him know about it before he knew about it. So that's pretty cool. 800-222-KABC is the phone number. Crisis averted. They've switched back to the soap opera. 1-800-222-5222. You can always email us at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. That's johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. And we'll read a whole bunch of your emails later on in the hour. At the bottom of the hour, we'll play Throwback Thursday because it is Woo Wednesday.
It's Woo Wednesday. Yeah, baby. Woo, 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 woo. Woo, 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 woo.
But for now, we move to Long Beach because there's an apartment building in Long Beach next to a metro rail line that has an insane person in it. This insane person is threatening his neighbors, running around with a box cutter, screaming into hours of the night, and Long Beach PD says there's not a damn thing they can do about it. For more, here's Fox 11's Ed Laskos. Boy, we get Ed Laskos reports and Mark Brown reports on the same day. It's a good day for local broadcast journalism.
And tenants at this apartment building really scared, I'll tell you. Many of them telling me they now are starting to fear for their very lives. And it's all because of one of their own neighbors and his crazy, threatening behavior. Some of that wild behavior caught on the Ring cameras. Watch this guy, will you? Blood-curdling screams. The neighbor.
Blood-curdling. Oh, boy, Ed's going for it. Just remember, in Los Angeles County, George Gascon believes that criminal threats are not a chargeable offense.
The neighbors call it, and that has left many at this apartment building screaming out for help.
It's really scary, especially having daughters that live here.
How scary is this guy?
Very. Like, you want to get away because you don't want to get hurt.
I see him every night on my camera screaming, yelling.
You know, I've been so lazy to even install the Ring camera that my friend Cassie got me, but I don't even want to know the kind of stuff that thing would pick up because the amount of surveillance footage that's out there, while it doesn't really help the police do anything with it, it does provide a lot of entertainment to the local news of this insane man screaming in the hallways of an apartment building. Where's the HOA? Come on.
Drinking or, like dancing in circles.
Many of the tenants telling us.
So what do you think? Meth, PCP, bath salts? All three?
Many of the tenants telling us they are being terrorized in their very own apartment building by a man who lives up here on the 5th floor. A man who is said to wander the halls aimlessly day or night, threatening violence at every turn.
Threatening people. Now I'm hearing that he's going around with box cutters chasing people.
This man is threatening his neighbors, other tenants in this apartment building, running around with a box cutter, which if you've ever seen Breaking Bad, you know how dangerous a box cutter can be. And nothing is happening? Oh, that's right. On day one, when George Gascon got in office, he said that criminal threats are one of the several categories of misdemeanors he's not going to do anything about.
We got some wobbly knees allies.
Threatening people. Now I'm hearing that he's going around with box cutters chasing people, and people are fearing their lives around here.
To cut their throat.
With the box cutter.
Yeah, with the box cutter. And so it's like
You're allowed to, in Long Beach, tell someone while you're holding a box cutter, I'm going to cut your throat, and nothing happens to you? We've just given up.
To cut their throat.
With the box cutter.
Yeah, with the box cutter. And so it's like he's got everyone in the building held hostage. Terrorizing us.
The target of their concern is this man in his 30s, known to neighbors as being on medication. But once he stopped taking his meds, they say, that's when all the craziness started.
And that's why you need to institutionalize people. Maybe CalCare will help with this, but come on.
Oh, yeah, he's on drugs, so you can hear him yelling that he needs his meth, and now he's drinking alcohol, too.
So instead of taking what I can assume is bipolar medication, he's taking meth. And so those highs are turning into some real highs, and the lows are turning into some real lows. And he's running around the hallway of an apartment building screaming and threatening people. And this is allowed?
Oh, yeah, he's on drugs, so you can hear him yelling that he needs his meth, and now he's drinking alcohol, too.
Oh, there have been dozens of calls already to 911. Each time police respond to this large apartment building right across the street from the metro station.
And every time we call the cops out, they say that there's nothing that they can do about it until he hurts someone.
But
that is not the correct response here. You have somebody with a weapon making threats, obviously unstable, screaming into hours of the night, scaring the crap out of everyone that lives in there, including women and children. And the police say, sorry, nothing we can do until he actually stabs somebody. That is not a civilized society. That is completely giving up. It's not the first time we've seen this. It was in Huntington Park, Highland Park, just a few weeks ago. A man running around with a machete, chopping down people's trees, threatening people. LAPD said nothing we could do about it until he actually stabs somebody. And that's Ulysses District.
You can't get well in a cell.
Long Beach, I thought better of you. What the hell?
And every time we call the cops out, they say that there's nothing that they can do about it until he hurts someone.
But neighbors fear by then it will...
You know how many times you hear people, like whether it's the mayor, Karen Bass, George Gascon, so many people talk about, we need to prevent crime before it happens. That's what we really need to do. And then usually what that means is we need to invest in social programs and after-school programs. If you want to prevent a crime before it happens, institutionalize the psychopath with a box cutter in Long Beach. Find a place for him before he kills somebody. This isn't that difficult.
But neighbors fear by then...
And yeah, there are a lot of laws protecting this psychopath, but you can put him under a 72-hour hold, and if he's truly off his meds, maybe then we can get him back on his meds. This is unacceptable.
But neighbors fear by then it will be way too late.
I do feel like something bad will happen sooner or later, if not to one of us adults, to one of the children here. That's my biggest concern, is the kids.
I don't know what any of those residents do. If the owner of the apartment building won't do anything, and the police won't do anything, you got the local news involved, that's a fantastic step, but what do? You move in this market?
Now, that is the
Lose your deposit?
Now, that is the biggest concern from all of those who live in that apartment building. Police, no stranger to answering those 911 calls over there. Been over there many times, but they say the law is very simple how it's stated. Until this guy breaks the law, commits a crime, does something like that.
How is running around with a box cutter making threats to your neighbors not a crime? Something is completely fundamentally wrong here. We cannot act until somebody gets physically harmed from the person who is openly saying, I'm going to physically harm you. I'm going to stab you. How about we prevent the crime before it happens? Can't do that.
Been over there many times, but they say the law is very simple how it's stated. Until this guy breaks the law, commits a crime, does.
I'm telling you, this kind of inaction is why we're seeing vigilante justice up in San Francisco. I'm going to see it down here, and it's going to get ugly, and someone else is going to get hurt.
Does something like that, they can't cuff him. So at this point, it's up to all the neighbors there. They've been signing a petition after that big community meeting, hoping that the community, really the management of that building itself, can find a way, maybe in the name of safety. They're hoping to finally evict this guy just to get him out. For now, we're live here in Long Beach. Back to the west side we go.
Well, we know how difficult it is to evict people just for things like, being a bad tenant. How about someone being incredibly violent? Probably just as difficult. But that is just absolutely infuriating, that there's nothing that can be done. I got to hope that the local news magic will help. And that's not, obviously, thank you to Fox 11 and Ed Laskos for highlighting this. But, that's why we do these stories as well, because at some point, the only way that the politicians are going to act about something that's this insane, like we just saw with Silmar, is if you live in Long Beach, you got to get on the phone. You got to get on the emails. You got to call everybody. And you got to send more tips if you know anything, not just to the police, because there's not much they can do, but to the other local news stations. Get everybody out there. I want to see a report on every single channel. We're going to be covering this story, because otherwise, I really don't want to come in and hear that the guy who obviously said he was going to stab somebody stabbed somebody. We can prevent this. It shouldn't be this difficult. I honestly don't understand how, when you know someone's off their meds, they're experiencing a mental health crisis, they're screaming into the night, they're holding a box cutter, they're making threats. There's nothing we can do? Absolutely nothing? We're waiting for Care Court to implement in the fall? Maybe then we can do something? This is nuts. And I am getting real irritated by hearing when people are addressing their legitimate concerns, whether law enforcement has their hands tied or what, throwing their hands up, sorry, there's nothing we can do. Because when you say that, then we turn into anarchy, and we don't need that. If you want to email us, you can always do so at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com and email us your journey picks. But we've also gotten a ton of emails today throughout the show, and I haven't had time to read any of them on the air, so we're going to read quite a few of them. Now we open up the hour talking about the shoplifting tactics at Walgreens and Safeway in the Bay Area. There's a Safeway that locks the exit door until you scan your receipt, and you have a Walgreens in San Francisco, and that Walgreens, they have locked the freezer section. So you cannot get your frozen pizza or your frozen ice cream or anything until you ask for an employee, which if you're shame eating, chances are you'll chicken out and you won't even do that. Bradley writes in, shopping reality already. Hey, Randy, I hate dealing with the crowds and people in general, so I already shop at Stater Brothers and Walmart online and pick it up at my set time. It works great. You know what? I'm sure a lot of people are changing the way they shop because they don't want to see the shoplifting. They don't want to see the riffraff, and there are more convenient ways. It's expensive as hell, but Instacart during COVID was great. It was fantastic. Now, me personally, I don't like to do the crowds either, which is why I do most of my shopping bright and early, right when Trader Joe's opens on Sunday and right when my local farmer's market opens on Sunday, which, we live in Southern California. We have access to the best produce in the whole country. If you're not taking advantage of your local farmer's markets, you are missing out. And it's not even like it's expensive. It's I would say it's comparable to, cheaper than some grocery stores. And you're getting the best produce. The quality is unmatched. I could talk about farmers markets all day. And you know what? I have yet to see shoplifting at the farmers market. Jen writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. So Walgreens has basically let us know that they don't need our money. So I think we should listen to their message and stop shopping there. And then she uses a word that I can't say on the radio. Shelley writes in, I'm all for it. Lock up the food and don't let people out unless they show the receipt. It wouldn't bother me to do that. Here's an email from Byron. Mr. Wang, I know your hands are full today, but I'm currently listening to the whistleblower's testimony in Congress, and there have been quite a few choice, quite frankly, back and forths from the committee. You know what? The only way I am going to actually sit and listen to and pay attention to a House of Representatives committee hearing on the Hunter Biden thing is for my favorite phrase.
Quite frankly.
Otherwise, it's just, that stuff's a tune out for me. What has actually ever been accomplished in any congressional hearing about anything? When it comes to rising crime in California, Glenn wants to know, what's Whoopi's take on it?
Rising crime in California.
Here's one about George Gascon, who is the godfather of so many stories that we're talking about this week because it's his policies that have really set the table for the madness. He needs to suffer the consequences of his laws. Vote him out. They're not even laws. Well, Prop 47 is, but the rest of these are not things that he changed the law on. It's prosecutorial discretion. He just decided as soon as he was elected, there are a whole bunch of crimes he's not going to enforce. That is absolute insanity. And we're coming up on an election. The recall didn't happen. Couldn't get over 550,000 signatures in a county of 10 million. But there's a big difference between a recall qualifying for a ballot, because how many times have you walked past somebody that wants you to sign a petition and your hands are full of groceries and you're like, stop bothering me. But when it's actually on the ballot, we'll see what happens. And regardless of any recall, George Gascon is up for election. The primary is in March of 2024. You got people like John Hatami running against him, people like John McKinney running against him, a lot of seasoned prosecutors who know what the job is and know what to do. So we'll see what happens there. But that'll be the test. See how George Gascon does in this county after 4 years of George Gascon. Then we might start to see the pendulum move the other way. We also talked in the 1 o'clock hour about Metro's constant safety problems.
You may want to consider not using the Metro.
Mark writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. Are the transit ambassadors unionized yet? And you know what? That is funny. Because just a few weeks after we hired 300 Metro transit ambassadors to give people directions, because if you ask them what their actual job is, if they're there to keep people safe, this is what the ambassador actually says. This was on Channel 5.
Thankfully, we're mostly helping the passengers. So I can honestly say that usually these situations are just visually uncomfortable. But all in all, exactly. So the safety issue is not really an issue.
It's funny because there's a different member of the transit ambassadors that wants to unionize the transit ambassadors for what they say are unsafe working conditions because they don't feel safe on the buses and the trains. This is why I am advocating for every member of the Metro Board of Directors, including the Board of Supervisors and the mayor, to ride Metro once a week. Not just from one station to another station, not just to take a selfie, Lindsay Horvath,
quite frankly,
for your entire commute from where you live. On top of that, since you're paving over car lanes for bus-only lanes and bike lanes, every single one of those people should have to bike to work once a week, even in 100-degree heat, because that's what you're telling us to do. We also got quite a few emails about one of our local heroes here in broadcast journalism, Mark Brown. Ben writes in, I met Mark Brown years ago at Bob's Burgers in Azusa when he was absolutely annihilating a double burger and onion rings. Very nice man. I'll never forget that. Thought I'd share. This guy writes in, when Mark Brown was interviewing Ara Najarian of the Metro Board, this guy he's talking to is a complete idiot. Metro Bob writes in and says, you know what? I love that idea. The Metro board members should have to ride those trains on
Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
and they should have to do it for at least
5 weeks.
We also talked about the update of the crazy lady in Sylmar that filled her backyard with 26 RVs, renting them out for anywhere from $500 to $1,000 a pop, and providing illegal power and not giving anywhere to dump sewage. So these people were dumping it in the neighborhood, and she is finally getting kicked out. The place has been red tagged because it's a biohazard. Mark writes in, I bet $1 to donuts she hasn't paid taxes on her cash business for years. It's time to alert the franchise tax board. I guarantee you there's a whole litany of problems with this woman and this thing that she's been operating for 13 years, and nothing got done about it until the local news started talking about it. And then, of course, the big chase happened and derailed everything on every channel in local news in Southern California, where you had this jackass driving to gas stations, ditching the car he was in, and then stealing the other car at the gas station, which then ran out of gas because it was at a gas station. So he goes to a different gas station to steal another car. Rocco writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com, who leaves their door open and the keys in the car when they're at a gas station? My keys are either in my pocket and the doors are closed. If I go in to pick up lottery tickets, I lock the car after or before filling the tank. We've all need to be aware and keep our heads on a swivel at all times. We're not in our home with our doors, windows, and spiked iron gates locked. You got to be aware. And you know what? It's funny. I've had an electric car now I had one for 6 months. That one got totaled in a car accident. But I've had the current electric car that I've been in for about a year now. And so for almost a year and a half, I haven't had to go to a gas station, which is one of the benefits, I think, of the many benefits. I love driving my Chevy Bolt EUV sales. Let me get that going. But I always felt so vulnerable at a gas station, standing there, getting accosted by people asking you money, people wanting to sell candy to you, or people acting crazy. And you're, sometimes not in the best neighborhood. There are certain gas stations where you got to fill up because you're running out of gas, and it feels super scary, super unsafe. I don't have that problem anymore because I charge my car at home. And for anyone asking, hasn't cost me a cent more in our power bill because we charge in the middle of the night, and I only have to charge once a week. But it is one of the benefits. I remember always feeling scared at a gas station. Not to mention your cards would probably get ripped off from a skimmer. And here's another one on the chase from Jen. You noticed that this jackass was not in Ventura County 5 minutes before they took him down, right? LAPD should be ashamed. You know what? She does make an interesting point. This chase was going on. LAPD started it. It went on for over 2 hours. As soon as he crossed the border into Ventura County, CHP slammed into him as soon as he got off the freeway. Was that the first possible opportunity to take this guy down? Probably, but probably not. But it does make you think, because there are certain counties where they don't put up with this crap. You don't see a lot of high-speed chases in Kern County because they'll shoot out your tires. But we like to maintain a safe distance here. Again, great entertainment for the TV, but incredibly dangerous, unsafe, and allowing these people to drive like maniacs because you don't want to do a pit maneuver seems less safe than just doing the pit maneuver. Now, we also just talked about the other insane person in Long Beach, the guy who lives in an apartment building who's wandering the halls in the middle of the night, screaming, holding a box cutter, threatening people, apparently off his meds. And Long Beach PD won't do anything about it. Apparently, we can't even put this guy on a 5150 hold. And, of course, this is another reflection of George Gascon and his nonsensical policies.
Quite frankly.
Hank writes in, Gascon lives in Long Beach. They should send that nut to his doorstep in Naples. Christy writes in, what the hell are we paying taxes for, Randy? That story was insane. You miss an install payment to the state of California, and they'll sweep your bank account for a lousy few thousand in back taxes to pay for what? Police are so handcuffed they can't remove that nut? Maybe the tenant should file a class action lawsuit against the city for putting their families at risk. Maybe we should collectively stop paying our taxes. Love the lawsuit idea, and I love the spirit of the don't pay your taxes idea. But I will not advocate for that because I don't want any of our lovely listeners going to prison because they get you when you don't pay your taxes. And finally, Vince writes in at johnnydon'tlikeshow@gmail.com. These people seem surprised by the lack of police action. A follow-up question to the interviewer should be, did you vote for George Gascon? By the way, just found out John Hatami, who's running against George Gascon, will be on this program tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. And I've been saving them all week. We get a whole collection of Gascon TikToks to play. So we're not done with you yet, buddy.
Quite frankly,